Now, what if I wanted to add another element or elements to the existing list? Okay, so let's start off with, let's say with my list 2, I wanted to add the elements 1, 2, 3 at the end of this particular list. Okay, so instead of this ending in 6, 7, 8, it would end that after 8 we'll have the elements 1, 2 and 3, and that is how the list should conclude. So the easiest way to add elements is using a plus sign. So like I mentioned, we wanted the elements 1, 2, 3 to be added to this particular list that is existing. So my list 2 plus 1, 2, 3 will actually make sure that after 8 you'll have these elements 1, 2, 3 added to the existing list. Now since we have not overwritten this particular input to my list, now if we check my list again, my list 2 has not changed. Okay, it is still 1, 222, 5, 6, 7, 8 because we haven't overwritten the this particular variable with this particular output. Now the other way we can do is using appending methods. So let's try that. So if I say my list 2 and I say dot append, and you might think that when we say dot append we're trying to add something back. So you might think it is similar to the concatenation that we did here by adding a plus sign. So you say append and you say 1, 2, 3. Suppose you say append a list 1, 2, 3 and you run this, and now you check my list 2. But when we do that, we are not getting the desired output. We wanted 1, 2, 3 to be the elements added to this particular list. But now when we look at my list 2, we actually see another list. So this has become a nested list. Okay, this is not what we wanted exactly. So to do this, instead of the append method, what we actually had to use was the extend method. Okay, so for simplicity's sake, what I'll do is I'll take my list 2 and I'm going to overwrite it back to the previous set that we had. So I'm going to copy this and let's overwrite it. Now if you check my list 2, you'll see it has come back to the this particular list that was previously existing. Now what I'm asking is, here my list 2, instead of the append method that we used, use the extend method. Inside the extend method, again you will give the same thing, that you had to extend this particular list with the elements 1, 2 and 3. But now when you check my list 2, you see that we get the exact output that we had hoped for. That is, the elements 1, 2 and 3 have been added after the element 8. Okay, now the append method works when you're actually doing it one element at a time. So what I mean by that is, if I say append and if I write 1 here and if I run this, now if you check my list 2, you'll see that after the element 3 1 has been added. Okay, so dot append works only element wise. Now once this is done, now let's learn how we can delete certain elements from the list. Okay, so for that, let me create a new variable called mylist3, and inside this, let's take the previous element list. So I'm just copying this again. So by doing this, we have a -3 that is ready. Okay, now let's say we wanted to delete the elements, let's say this triple two. Okay, so let's try doing that. So all I have to do is minus 3. First, we have to select that particular triple two. So it is nothing but 1 is to 4. When we say 1 is to 4, we are actually selecting these three elements. And now that we want to remove this 222 from this particular list that we have, all we have to mention is the command delete or del in short. Okay, so del of my list 3, 1 is to 4. Once this is run, and now if we check my list 3, those three elements have been deleted. The other way of removing certain element, so let's say I just wanted to remove the element 5. Okay, so the other easy way is you simply call on the variable which of the list, so my list 3 dot remove, and if I mention the element here, so if I say remove 3, so sorry, remove 5, and now if we check my list 3, we can see the element 5 has been removed. So if you know the list and you know which particular element you have to remove, you can actually use dot remove method and type in that particular element, and Python will remove that particular element for you. Now let's say you wanted to remove just the last element. So we have 1678, and let's say we want to remove this element 8. Okay, one method is we have seen previously, dot remove of 8 will do the job. The other command that we have, or the other option that we have at our disposal, is we can use the pop method. So if you write dot pop and we run this, now what Python does is it will tell you what element it has removed. So 8 was in the end, so it is saying it has removed 8 from this list. And now if you run mylist3 and check what are the elements that are left, you'll see it only has 167. It doesn't have 8 anymore. That is, it has popped out the element 8. Okay. Now, what if I wanted to remove all the elements from the list? Okay. The the simplest way of doing that is, there are two ways of doing it. One is you can use the command clear, and when you run this, and then if you check my list 3, you will see that it is a blank list. Now let's actually get the elements back. So I'm going to copy this 167 and I'm going to rerun this particular line so that we have the elements again. The other way of actually getting the elements or removing all of the elements is you can simply assign it to a blank list. So if I say my list of blank, okay, just empty braces, that is a blank list. So if I run this, and now if I check my list 3, I'll again get the blank list. So there are two ways. One is using the clear method, the other is directly you can assign the entire variable to a blank list and your job will be done. Okay, what if I wanted to delete the entire list? So let's say now my list is a blank list, I want to delete the variable itself. All I have to do is I can write del my list 3, and if I run this, now you can see, and when we press tab you would see that we don't have my list 3 anymore. Okay, now let's talk about the reverse thing. That is, suppose we just wanted to insert something. Okay, there's another method, just like deletion, we can actually insert. So let's say we create this variable again -3 and call it a blank list. Now we have the -3 variable again, and let's say we want to add the element. Okay, all you have to do here is you can simply say -3 dot insert, and inside the insert, if you press shift tab, it is going to tell you the index. First you have to mention which index it has to go in and what object you have to pass. So let's say I say index 0 and I say the number 1. So when we write like this and we run, now if we check my list 3, it would have the number 1 as this particular list. Okay, now